All right, let's dive in. We're looking at a deal that's not just making headlines. It's basically rewriting the rulebook for the entire global economy. Yeah, it involves an absolutely mind-boggling amount of money, but the real story here, it's about something a whole lot bigger than just cash.
Okay, first off, just look at that number. $350 billion. I mean, that's a figure big enough to completely reshape entire industries. But what does it really represent? Because, this isn't just another transaction. It's a huge statement about where global trade and, frankly, global power are headed.
Now, this quote right here is the key to unlocking this whole thing. I know, it sounds a little academic, but trust me, it's the absolute core of a massive historic shift. We're talking about a move to a world where supply chain geopolitics is the main game. And what's that? Well, it basically boils down to a simple question. Who do you trust to make your most important stuff? That idea is now becoming the central organizing principle for the entire global economy. So let's dig into what that actually means. Okay, here's our game plan. We'll start with the handshake itself, then get into why it's about so much more than money. We'll cover the new rules of trade, which industries matter most, and then ask, is this a template for the future? And finally, we'll talk about what might just be the new global currency. All right, first up, the deal itself. What are the fundamentals of this $350 billion handshake? So the two players here are South Korea and the United States. And what they've done is approve this massive strategic investment program. Now, what's absolutely crucial to understand is that this isn't some private sector deal. Nope. It's a state-backed structure with joint oversight. That means the two governments are in this together as direct partners, not just watching from the sidelines. And just look at where the money's going. This is no blank check. $200 billion is earmarked for key strategic industries. And get this, a whopping $150 billion is going specifically to shipbuilding cooperation. So this isn't just an investment, it's a highly targeted, almost surgical plan with very, very specific goals.
But as huge as that number is, this deal is really about something much bigger than money. It's a signal, a huge one, of a fundamental shift in how the entire world economy works.
Okay, here it is. This is the big shift. For decades, the golden rule of global investment was super simple. Just chase the highest return. Pure market logic, right? Well, that's changing. Now, capital flows are guided by strategic alignment. The questions being asked are totally different. It's not just, will this make money anymore? It's, is this partner a trusted ally? And does this investment make our supply chains more secure? And that brings us to the new rules of trade. The core idea is actually pretty simple. A country's industrial policy, what it decides to build and invest in at home, is now its main trade policy. Here's a good way to think about it. The old model was kind of like a global supermarket, right? Countries would argue about tariffs and market access, basically just trying to get their products onto everyone else's shelves. The new model, it's more like a shared high-tech kitchen. The focus isn't just getting stuff on the shelf, it's about where you build the critical industries in the first place. So the goal shifts from just market access to supply chain security. And the logic moves from pure commercial viability to something called technological sovereignty. So let's just put a quick, clear definition on that term we used earlier, supply chain geopolitics. All it means is that big investment decisions are now being judged not just on commercial returns, but on how they contribute to national security and how resilient they make your supply chains. It's really just about making sure you can get what you need when you need it, from friends you can actually count on. Okay, so why these specific industries? I mean, this wasn't just a random selection, not at all. These are the absolute essential building blocks of the 21st century economy. Just think about these sectors for a second. You've got semiconductors. They're the brains behind our entire digital world and our defense systems. You've got shipbuilding, which is the backbone of global trade and naval power. Critical minerals. They fuel everything from electric vehicles to advanced electronics. And then there's AI and quantum computing, which will basically define who leads the world for the next generation. Yeah, every single one of these is critical. So what's the strategic win here? Well, for Washington, it's all about deepening a key alliance to build more resilient supply chains that are way less dependent on geopolitical rivals. It's a classic de-risking strategy, Don't put all your eggs in one basket. And for Seoul, the logic is just as powerful. By investing inside the United States, South Korea is essentially embedding itself within the world's biggest and most important tech market. This pretty much guarantees long-term access and solidifies its role as a vital partner in building the tech of the future. All right, all of this raises a really big question. Is this deal just a one-off thing, or are we looking at a template for how new economic blocks are going to be built from now on? Well, all the evidence really suggests it's a template. Future alliances probably won't be your old-school free trade agreements. They're going to look a lot more like this. Allies setting up joint industrial funds, creating shared pools of money for tech investment, and actually coordinating their supply chain planning. We're talking about deep structural partnerships here. So what does this all mean? It means that in this new era, investment, capital itself, is becoming the new currency of diplomatic stability. You don't just sign a treaty anymore. You anchor your alliances directly with money, which makes them a whole lot stronger and way more resilient. So, finally, what are the big consequences of this shift? Where does the rest of the world go from here? For emerging economies, this new world is basically a crossroads. It's like a fork in the road. Down one path, there's a huge opportunity. Countries that have critical resources or manufacturing muscle could become essential partners in these new networks. But down the other path, there's a very real risk of being left on the outside, looking in on these super concentrated, high-value technology ecosystems. Ultimately, what we're seeing is the very definition of trade changing before our eyes. It's no longer just about moving goods across borders. It's becoming about where you build the factories, where you do the research, and where you finance the strategic technologies that are going to define the future. Which leaves us with one final big question to think about. As capital is used to build these powerful new alliances between trusted friends, who gets left outside?